Come and get your love. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Been waiting a while for this one. You know, we had the issue with James Gunn a while back. We had the mutiny of the cast members over James Gunn's departure. But then we had the return. And then he says this is going to be the last movie for this particular group of Guardians. This is the end of the story for them. And so there's a lot riding on this movie. There was a lot riding on, how is it going to fit in the Marvel Universe? How good is the movie going to be? How is it going to be for the remaining of how is it going to be compared to the other Guardians of the Galaxy movies? How is it going to tie up things well? So many unanswered questions. So went to see it last night with my girlfriend. We sat down, we watched it, and we got out. And the best way I can put it is when I came out of this film, I was not angry. I was not sad. I was not over the moon like coming out of an Avengers movie or anything like that. Kind of like, yeah! But I'm like, I was content. I'm like, that felt right. That felt like where we needed to end for now. I adored the movie. It really was one of the best superhero films I'd seen in a while. And I mean, look, I stand as someone who has liked every except for Morbius. And even Morbius, I don't hate as much as some others do, but except for Morbius, I have liked pretty much all the superhero fare that has come out in cinemas within Phase 4, let's say, of the MCU. That would include Black Widow. I liked Black Widow 5. Shang-Chi, loved Shang-Chi. Eternals, really liked it. Spider-Man No Way Home, loved it. Doctor Strange, fall into the group, people loved it. Liked Thor, Love and Thunder. Wakanda Forever was good. I liked Ant-Man 3. I even liked Black Adam. This is the first one since maybe like Shang-Chi or something like that, where I went like, no, that was really, really, really good. It's a movie that made my heart smile in many ways. It also broke my heart in many ways. Because all the scuttlebutt you've been hearing is true. This movie is funny. It's still got the Guardians humor to it. It's a humor I think we've been needing for a while. I was literally just watching a little bit of someone's review of it before I started this, and they didn't actually like the film. I'm like, really? Why? And I'm like, it's just the same stuff over and over again. I'm like, well, to a degree it is, but that's kind of why we go to watch these movies, is to see these characters interact and kind of get those interactions. And to be fair, it's not all the same, I don't think. But it's still these fun routines. It's the first F-bomb in a Marvel movie. If you've seen the clip, you know what it is. But if you haven't, all I'll say is it involves a car door, and I'll leave it at that. It's the first F-bomb, and it got a big charge at everyone in the theater when it dropped. But it's still got a lot of Guardians humor. The interaction between these characters is still great in terms of the humor. But it's also very heavy. This arguably is the darkest we have gone in the MCU, and we don't normally delve too much into like super dark territory, but I mean, Winter Soldier got serious, but there's a difference between serious and dark. Serious is taking a situation seriously. Bucky getting tortured and brainwashed, I guess you could say, is kind of dark, sure. But as a story, it's not the grounding point of the story, what happened to Bucky. But then you get something maybe more closer to an end game. And the game got dark at points, especially, with the final fight, not just being like dark overcast, but, people dying, a lot of people getting injured, nepped up, and try to stop this. That got dark to a degree. But then you get Wakanda Forever, which was very heavy. Very heavy. I don't know if I go so far as to say it was dark, but very heavy. Doctor Strange, okay, that got a little dark. We went dark in there, but it was Sam Raimi dark. This is dealing, as has been said many times now, this is dealing with the origins of Rocket Raccoon, where he came from, where he is, and where he's going, basically, as James Gunn put it. And yeah, look, if you are squeamish about animal cruelty, I'll say this: do not take any kid under maybe 10 to this because I'm not sure how well they're going to be able to handle some of the stuff that goes on here when it comes to the animals. That's really where the darkest part of the movie comes from, is the animal cruelty, the treatment of animals, because obviously being Rocket Raccoon and how he kind of moves and functions, and as we learn, he has cybernetic enhancements. You don't get those cybernetic enhancements all willy-nilly, peace and sunshine. Oh, it tickles. No, you get ripped, as he kind of put it in the first. Was like, I didn't ask to be torn apart and be made into this little monster. Like, yeah, you don't fully see it, but you see some gruesome imagery for an MCU film, and it gets heavy. It does. There are it's not just heavy, but it gets emotional. There are points. Like, I definitely could hear people kind of like sniffing. You're gonna get some. There's not gonna be one single dry-eyed theater in the country on this movie. Someone's gonna be sobbing. But there are two scenes in particular, without going into any strong detail, involving Rocket and his friends, his original friends that you see in the trailer, the animals that he befriended. There are two scenes in particular where one of them, I could feel a lump in my throat going, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, oh, come on. And the other one, not only could I feel the sorrow in it, but I'm like, oh no. And then afterwards, I went further into the scene, I'm like, oh no. Like they do not pull punches when it comes to some of the stuff that goes on in this movie. But the beauty of it, and this is what James Gunn does so well, even in some of his lesser flicks, what he does so well is, like Thanos, it's perfectly balanced as everything should be, as Thanos would say. Gunn is like a master of, when things are tipping way too far one end, he balances the pendulum, and then it starts to tip farther back, and nope, balance it. And he almost goes too far, but never goes too far. And it really is perfectly like balanced. The minute something's getting too heavy, something with levity is going to kick in. Whenever things are getting a little too goofy, that's when something serious has to kick in. And I felt the tone, it struck its balance great. As always, the soundtrack is fantastic. They dropped it early. Like, the soundtrack dropped, like, I want to say, like 2 weeks early before the movie came out. So I had been listening to it previously for a while. I'm like, okay, I know the songs in the movie, but where are the songs going to come in? And I'm like, okay, that made sense. That made sense. I'm not going to, if you don't know that the soundtrack dropped online, I won't say all the songs in there. I will say only like maybe a couple. Just because they are prevalent. An acoustic version of Creep is played by Radiohead. And yeah, I'll have to say this. The way that was played wasn't as bad, like heartbreaking as I thought it was going to be, but it still made sense how it was being used. There was another one. Crazy on You is in there. So you gotta love Crazy on You. Alice Cooper's Chasing Rainbows is in there. Obviously, in the two songs in the trailer are in there. Since You've Been Gone, and oh god, I can't remember what the name was. I can't remember the name of that one. But also No Sleep Till Brooklyn's in there. I'm not gonna say anything. You can kind of guess what kind of scene it would go with, but all I can say is everyone, we and my girlfriend, were just grinning ear to ear, like, yeah, it was awesome. All these characters have their moment in this film. Like no one is excluded for having a moment in this film. Not just a moment of like being a badass, because everyone has that. Gamora, Mantis, Drax finally gets to be more badass for a chance. Nebula, Peter, everyone gets their moment. But they all also have a story going on. And even though the main story is Rocket, and the secondary main story I would say is Peter, they're like the two real front runners here for like who this movie is about in terms of main characters. Everyone has something going on that they're dealing with, and that they ultimately come to realizations with. It's a very quick scene, and it's near the end. But Gamora has a scene with Groot, and Groot basically says, I am Groot, like he always does. And she answers him, and then you see a reaction on her face. And I'm not going to say exactly explain what that means. But when you actually watch the film, you'll realize how she had been reacting to him, and now she realizes what just happened there. And you find it really, and it's very nice and very sweet. And of course, Groot's lovable as always. Who doesn't love Groot? Swole Groot, as he's called. The villain. I will say this, and I want to get the guy's name right. I loved him in Peacemaker. Oh God, I've never had you pronounce his name before. Oh God, Chukwudi Iwuji. Sorry, I've never had to pronounce your name. I am so sorry, dude. I love you though. You're great. I love you. Just watching you. The High Evolutionary. Look, there are villains who are bastards, but you could almost root for them, like a Killmonger, like a Thanos, like a Loki, like an Ego, like a Vulture. Then there are those villains that you don't root for, but you also don't really like them either. Like there's nothing charming about them. You don't enjoy watching them. They're just the villain. And then you get that middle ground where you don't root for them, but that they do have some charm and weird, sick-like ability, but you can't wait for their comeuppance. That is the High Evolutionary. He is such a smug, narcissistic son of a bitch, but he can back it up too to some degrees. Like his level of power, he's not weak. Like this guy is a menace, and when you've seen what he's been doing to all these people, the Animen, the animal people, Rocket, everything like that, you're like, oh man, you cannot wait for this guy to get his comeuppance. There's a scene where he realizes something about Rocket, and it's in a flash. There's a lot of flashbacks to Rocket's past, obviously. And you can tell probably that he'd been drinking. So it's him kind of playing like this psychotic realization. How did you do it? It's like, and you can tell it's like, you're kind of drunk at the moment, aren't you? It's fantastic to watch like this guy who just thinks he's the smartest guy in the room be like, I got one up by a raccoon. Is there any issue with the film? Before I go into any issue I might have with the film, I will finally say that where the film ends, obviously no spoilers, it is an ending. This is why I said I felt content coming out of the theater, because this felt like the closing of a 3-arc story between this family of Guardians. Because we get basically the resolution of a lot of stories where a lot of characters are going, where they may not go, and it all feels natural. It feels right and justified towards the characters, and it doesn't feel like you're cheated. This ultimately feels like this is, to quote Mando, this is the way. Like this felt right. I actually really want. We'll go see this movie again, maybe next week. I'm gonna go see I'm taking a friend to see Dungeons and Dragons next week, so that because she hadn't seen it, and I probably she completed like a course in her job, and we're all proud of her. So I'm treating her to some movies because I owe her a lot of movies, and we don't get to spend a lot of time together anymore. So it'll be nice to spend some time with her. Maybe I'll try it because there's nothing major coming out next week that that I want to see. But B, that I even want to review, because what? Am I going to go watch Book Club? I didn't watch any for Brady. I'm not going to go watch Book Club, especially when I didn't see the first one. So I might just see Guardians again next week, just as a double to watch it again, because I would love to watch this again. I loved it so. I really loved this film. Now, things that I would say maybe could have been improved on. The biggest complaints I have heard from people that I would agree with, I would say it's the utilization of Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock is introduced. He's played by Will Poulter. Or is it Will Coulter or Will Poulter? Hold on. What is his name again? It's Will something. Hold on. Where is it? Will Poulter? It is Will Poulter. And my issue with Adam Warlock isn't the portrayal of Adam Warlock. I actually had a lot of fun when he was on screen. He was entertaining to watch. No, actually, my issue is just he's A, not in the movie a lot, and B, how he's utilized is kind of irrelevant. You could, as I've heard some people say, and I agree, you could have gotten what he contributes into the movie, could have gotten away with that with a different character or a different plot device, and that could have worked. But at the same time, because I liked what I saw of him portraying Adam Warlock as, I do look forward to seeing him later down the line in the MCU. I would like to see more from him because I did like what I saw. It's just not a lot, and I don't think he was utilized the best. But that being said, I didn't hate him at all. I think that might be one of the only big weaknesses. I've heard some people say it's like, that James Gunn's got to stop casting people he knows. I don't agree with that. He knows Nathan Fillion. By the way, yeah, Nathan Fillion was in a trailer, so I'm not spoiling that. Nathan Fillion shows up in the movie. Cool. I love seeing Nathan Fillion. And by the way, he's not like just a cameo. He does play a minor role in a scene. He's not like important to the plot, but he's there. It's more than just a cameo. His wife does make an appearance. I will say that. I got no problem with her as an actress. I loved her in Peacemaker. You really got... Is it just because you're married? Like, she doesn't have to show up in everything, dude. But to be fair, again, I like her. And if I'm not mistaken, the girl who played Ratcatcher 2 is also in the movie. She played, I don't remember her name. It's like Uru or something like that. She basically plays like a secretary or something, a receptionist in the place they got to steal something from. So, yeah, again, it doesn't really bother me, but it's... I will know. It's like, you really do put her in everything, don't you, dude? But then again, I like seeing her, so I guess I can't. But again, the Adam Warlock thing, I will admit, is they could have done that better. They could have. I will also say this: I did hear it felt kind of like someone say that it felt like needle drop moments, like almost like a music video at points when it came to the soundtrack. Same for one scene, I didn't really get that. And the one scene I can think of with that, yeah, it kind of comes off as a music video. But B, I wouldn't change that for the world in that scene. When you know the scene I'm talking about comes near the end, you'll get, what I mean. So yeah, I need to sit on this film for a little bit to see how I feel about it. Versus all the, first off, and I gotta now add this to my top Marvel list before I do that video again. This will probably rank probably higher than some of the more recent stuff. Definitely, it's definitely higher up. The Guardians films all rank pretty high for me, and probably in the second half of the list, but I'd have to think on it. Where do I put this in the ranking just of the Guardians movies alone? I speak as someone who thinks the second one is better than the first one. I think they improved basically on everything in the second one, save for maybe not giving Drax enough action sequences, but that's minor. Oh, God. This probably is still better than the first one. It's got a better villain. Both of them have a better villain than the first one. Ronan is just a nothing villain. I mean, he's there. He's the antagonist. It's all good, but he's still a nothing villain when you at the end of the day. Whereas Ego and High Evolutionary definitely are better villains, I think. But beyond that, better villain. God, it all depends on how. See, it depends on how the emotion hits you, in the way in the story they're telling. Is what I'm trying to get at. Because in this one, it's about Rocket and everything he's going through and the family bonds he has with the Guardians, versus Quill and his connection to his father, or father's Yondu, and finding his real family and friends again through that. And I mean, and then when you had the soundtrack, you had that film with Cat Stevens. Oh God, that song, man! I still tear up with that song because my mind goes to my mom on that song. Even though it's about fathers and sons, my mind goes to my mom when I think about the song in that ending. So that resonates. That has a big emotional tug for me on that. And I mean, the way the soundtrack usually is always a big thing for me. I think the songs are better in Volume 2, and I think Volume 2 might be my favorite soundtrack. But I think the songs might have been handled a little better in Volume 1. And in this one, ooh, I actually might say this soundtrack is better than Volume 1's. I think Volume 2's is still the best. In terms of which movie handled the use of their soundtrack to match what's going on in the film the best, ooh, that's tough. Because I still think it's number one who handles the soundtrack the best. Oh, 3, oh man. So, okay, here's how I would rank it. For the best actual soundtrack, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 1. For who handled their soundtrack the best, Volume 1, Volume 3, and Volume 2. There are moments in Volume 2 where the soundtrack, it just works. It just works. Like the opening, Mr. Blue Skies, Come a little bit closer. I mean, that thing you see with Yondu and Rocket and Groot, that's gold. Pure magic right there. And then the Cat Stevens at the end. All the other songs, I'll admit, some of them work. Like the My Sweet Lord one works great. Break the Chain, a little on the nose. I do like him dancing to Bring It to Me, or Give It to Me. Bring It to Me with Gamora. I don't know. Now I'm saying it out loud. Brandy. You know, now that I'm saying it out loud, I might have to change my opinion on that. Okay, you know, I might change my opinion. I think maybe Guardians 1. By the way, all the soundtracks are great. They handle their song. All the films handle their songs great. But Guardians 1 handles them at number 3 on both regards, and I say it out loud. Then I think Volume 2. Yeah, Volume 2 handles it better because it's been a while since I've listened. I'm in my mind. I'm like, you know, actually that works well. That works well. That works well. So yeah, it actually go 2, 3, and 1 in that order in both settings. Anyway, I spent too much time on that. Anyway, I very much recommend the movie. I loved it. This, by the way, this is for the people who feel like maybe the MCU is gotten a little stale lately, or has not been firing all cylinders, has not been given the best quality. This is definitely a bit more return to form. Is it connected to the overall story? No, not really. But the Guardians films never are. So they're actually connected to their own stories. So that means this is kind of gets a pass from the whole multiverse stuff going on right now, which is good. I think we needed a palate cleanser from that stuff. And yeah, I think the people who can handle the animal cruelty a little bit, I think if you can handle that, you'll definitely get a good time out of this. I think. But that is just my opinion. Have you seen the movie? What did you think about it with no spoilers? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see you folks for the next one.